Hi guys, this is Sarah, and today I am going to be talking to you about Charlotte Bronte. Charlotte was a British novelist and poet, and the eldest of three famous Bronte sisters, whose novels have become standards of American literature. Here are a couple of photographs of her, pictures. She was born April 21st, 1816 in Thornton, Yorkshire, England, and died March 31st, 1855 at the young age of 38. Her works include approximately 15 juvenilia, which are works produced when the author is still young. However, she's more known for her novels, which include Jane Eyre, Shirley, Villette, The Professor, which was written before Jane Eyre and submitted with her sister's novel Wuthering Heights. It was rejected many times and published after her death in 1857. She also started Emma, but wrote only 20 pages of this manuscript, and that was also published after her death. She has a couple of books of poetry, one that was published in 1846, poems by Currer, Ellis, and Acton Bell, and then a book of selected poems of the Bronte family, which was published in 1997. The pen names she wrote under were Lord Charles Albert, Florian Wellesley, and Currer Bell. Her occupation, as we know, was a novelist and poet, but she was also a governess. Charlotte was raised in a strict Anglican home by her clergy father and a religious aunt, after her mother and two eldest siblings died. In August 1824, Charlotte, along with her sisters, was sent to the Clergy Daughters' School in Cowan Bridge in Lancashire, a school for the daughters of poor clergymen. She would describe this school as Lowood in her semi-autobiographical novel Jane Eyre. The school was a horrific experience for the girls, and the conditions were appalling. 7 pupils died in a typhus epidemic that spread through the school, and all of the 4 Bronte girls became very ill. Following this, their father withdrew his daughters from the school. Back at home, Charlotte and the other surviving children, Branwell, Emily, and Anne, continued their ad hoc education. In 1826, her father returned home with a box of toy soldiers for Branwell. They would prove the catalyst for the sisters' extraordinary creative development, as they immediately set to creating lives and characters for the soldiers, inventing a word for them, which the siblings called angria. The siblings became addicted to writing, creating stories, poetry, and plays, and Bronte later said that the reason for this was that they were wholly dependent on themselves, on books and study for enjoyments and occupations of life. The highest stimulus, as well as the liveliest pleasure, we had known from childhood upwards, lay in attempts at literary composition. After her father's health declined, Charlotte was again sent to school to complete her education at Roe Head School in Mirfield from 1831 to 1832. During this period, she wrote her novella, The Green Dwarf, under the name of Wellesley. The school was extremely small, with only 10 pupils, and the top floor was completely unused, and it was believed to have been haunted by a ghost of a young lady dressed in silk. This story fascinated Charlotte and inspired the figure of Mrs. Rochester in Jane Eyre. Charlotte left the school after a few years. However, she returned in 1835 with a position as a teacher, and she used her wages, as we call it in England, to pay for Emily and Anne to be taught at school. However, teaching did not appeal to Charlotte, and she left in 1838 to become a governess to the Sidgwick family. This was partly because she wanted to see the world, and partly because she needed the money. One of her charges was John Benson Sidgwick, an unruly child, who on one occasion threw a Bible at Charlotte, an incident that may have been inspiration for part of the opening chapter of Jane Eyre, in which John Reed throws a book at the young Jane. Before the publication of Villette, Charlotte received a proposal of marriage from Arthur Bell Nichols, her father's curate, who had long been in love with her. She initially turned him down, and her father also objected to the union, partly because Nichols was poor. Charlotte, meanwhile, is increasingly attracted to Nichols, and by January 1854 she accepted his proposal. They finally gained the approval of Charlotte's father and married in June. Her father was supposed to walk Charlotte down the aisle, but at the last minute he decided he could not do so, and Charlotte had to make her way to the church alone. The married couple honeymooned in Ireland. Not long after that Charlotte became pregnant, but her health declined and she died with her unborn child on March 31st, 1855, at the young age of 38. Thank you for listening, guys.